Hey guys, it's Green Zero here, and we are of course going to do a quick recap of the third place playoff, which I did play in myself and Unleashed best of 11 here. So we're going to go through the matches, same as what I did with myself and Inspire Phoenix, just the highlights. So first match was obviously on Twilight City. It opened up with a Flame Rush, but it did fail. And Unleashed, by the way, was Black Can, and he did have to circumvent. He eventually got the Reckoner into my expansion because I didn't actually get to clean it up. And I highly recommend this game because there was a lot of back and forth. There was a very long game as well, and it's non-stop action. This video is really condensed hardcore down into what happened. I did lose my Conyard at one stage, which is why my base is in this weird configuration. I do have the Conyard there, and my serious delay in AP ammo is obviously causing me problems here trying to hold this attack off. But basically what happened, a lot of action. I did get knocked, I was on the front foot and then I got knocked to the back foot, and I had a really tough time getting off the back foot, and the game went for quite some time. Again, there's a lot of action in it. He did quite a number of infantry pushes. I tried to keep on the ground. Again, there was just non-stop action. Definitely recommend watching this game just because it's very action-packed. You can see here again, it's just causing me a lot of problems. I had to constantly resell and build and sell and build because I was just trying to build units to survive for the whole middle to late part of the game before I could get back on the offensive, which I do end up doing. I get back on the offensive, end up throwing quite a few of my hammerheads away there, try to defend. So I was obviously counter-harassing him as well. There's a lot of harassment and counter-harass in this game, so we're both hitting each other at the same time, but it was pretty tight. It was pretty tight the whole game here. And we're going to have a look and see what happens in this game. Again, because it is really condensed down, just be aware that this is this game, you could pretty much, I did get clicked here obviously, but yeah, there was so much action I could have included in the video, but this was bad because most of my tanks got destroyed, and then he had Tib Core, which was a really big factor in the game. Tib Core just wrecked my recovering eco again and again, and I had a really tough time. I had to constantly rebuild my harvesters, but yeah, he ended up getting a Redeemer, getting down the tech tree, and I did actually manage to stop that at one point. It gets pretty epic EMP. I couldn't actually target the buggy because I was raged, and this was a problem. I would have done a lot better, I think, had I not had this massive crush happen here, but I do end up holding the first Redeemer. I didn't hold the second Redeemer though because he comes back with another one. I get clicked a little bit more as well, had to sell up, and yeah, trying to move my Predator tanks behind to get the rear armor. You can see them splitting them up, just trying to do what I can. Unleashed, I knew it was a little bit low on eco here, but he eventually took my main, and then he did secure the victory in this series, in this game here. So, well, not the series, it's only game one. So Unleashed got off to a great start, snaring the first game of the series. More clicks to finish me off, and I'm like, yep, cool, that's it. I can't beat this army, and I have nothing left. So Unleashed took the opening game, 1-0 to grab some early momentum, but it's a best of 9, so there's a long way to go yet. Alright, so game number 2 started out, and I obviously got the pick, so I picked Tournament Decision, stuck with my GDI, and Unleashed stuck with his, no, he switched to Nod actually, so I had a feeling he was going to shadow team on this level because I picked this one and he switched to Nod over Black Can, and he did shadow me. He didn't get too much done. He did prevent some of my spike capture, which was really annoying, but I kind of knew he was going to do it, so I didn't go for the top spike, which allowed me to get ahead economically, and he had a pretty slow start because of that reason, so it was just, you know, chasing things around. I did end up fast teching down to Firehawks, knowing I had an advantage here. There was a bit of pit harassment, bike harassment, but it's nothing serious. And my Firehawks actually was so fast that there was nothing to bomb but power plants. And I was like, wow, he doesn't actually have any tech that I can bomb. And it's not much point bombing eco because he's got tons of it and it won't slow him down. So I bombed his power because I knew that would slow him down before expanding with your typical Marv and Juggernauts. And I was just planning to take the whole bottom section of the map here. As you can see with my Crane build, I'm like, yep, cool, let's use this advantage. And this game here was reasonably long as well. Games vs Unleashed just seemed to be long, even though some people think he holds on for too long, but actually these games are really even. Forward to the Marv push, so obviously I've got the whole bottom map under control, and pushing into a stealth base is one of the hardest things you can do in the game. It's notoriously difficult, so I'm calling in support powers. I've got hammerheads, I've got sniper teams, jugs, I've got the Marv here, and I'm just absolutely pounding the crap out of his position. That was a bit of overkill for that Venom. I just had the Hawks there just in case a lot of them rocked up, or there were, what do you call it, Vertigo bombers. But I lost my Marv. He did have a big bunch of beam cannons, and I definitely needed to kill those, but the rig comes in a bit too late for repairs. Fast forward to the second attempt, and I'm like, yep, cool, got a little bit further in, but again, I really had to dig Unleashed out of this position. It was really tight. His AA has pretty much all been vaporized, so he's trying to rush to put more of that down. Doesn't look like he had Tib Core either, so my Hammerhead's doing a lot of damage trying to destroy the beam cannons. You can see there, just queuing them up, and this really hurt him, but he does manage to hold off again, so get a nice shockwave artillery, get my Juggernauts into position after being raged. This was actually the third attempt. I did lose my Marv again, but I fast forwarded, so if you want to watch the whole replay, head on over to Kane's Wrath online for the replay and the details. But again, I just slowly established control. I managed to expand to the top. He tried to expand several times and I prevented him. So slowly but surely, I dug him out of this position with 3 big, massive pushes with a lot of engagement, a lot of destruction. I did manage to push him back, and he does have to surrender at this point in time, not being able to secure the top. He doesn't have any tib left, and he has no more units. So I leveled the series 1-1, and we're going to jump into game number 3 coming up right now. So moving on to game number 3, Unleash picked Small Town USA, and he was Blackhand again, so I figured I was probably going to get hit with some kind of flame/infantry push, leaning a bit more towards the infantry push, and I was pretty much right. He does open with flame, and he almost got my my War Factory. There was some clutch save moments here, thanks to the Harvesters, which helped me to hold this off, but yeah, the War Factory barely scraped through alive. I think he actually got that. Yeah, he did get the Harvester as well, so he did slow me down a little bit in this attack here, and he did follow it up with a Flame Rush as well, so putting a lot into that rush thing. He got a Reckoner in, but luckily with an airfield I was able to Orca Strike it, and that took a ton of health off, and he did stop the airfield, which was a pain because I did want hammerheads, and he's still got some leftover infantry, but yeah, he's keeping me locked in my base, and I was obviously looking to get out of my base, and I knew he was probably not doing too well in the eco department, but his plan was to hold me as long as possible. Big mistake to try to expand to the same direction as me, because he didn't have tech center, and with AP ammo and GDI, you know, GDI are going to win this if it's on even terms, unless the Black Hand has an overwhelming army, which he did not have. And I'm just going into the mass cell here. I'm like, yep, cool, going to destroy everything that he has here, and then I'm just going to take out his MCV, which falls pretty soon after, so he probably should have expanded to the other side, and he would have been fine. The game would have kept going, and it would have been relatively even, but he did fall out of this position. And that allows me to basically just steady. I put down some eco, some War Factories, and then as soon as that's done, I move straight out to his main, which I destroy pretty rapidly. And then I approach his new expansion here. I've got a lot of hammerheads now. I've got a pretty big ground army, and I've moved my MCD all the way over here because there's no tib on Unleash main, so I just figured I'd use the support here. And of course, I'm just going all in. It's very aggressive. A lot of losses are going down, especially on my side, but I knew I could totally push him out of the game if I broke him right here, and it was a pretty heavy loss for myself, but I did come through and obviously have enough left over, and that caused Unleashed UA to surrender. So game number 3, sorry, not going in his favor, and that gives me a 2-1 lead in the series going into game number 4. And so we entered game number 4, which was on Badlands, and I figured he was going to do something tricky, so I tried to really heavily defend my spike, as you can see there, making foxholes and things. I actually jumped out of that garrison. I got a bit panicky there, but I did a lot of damage, but he had an overwhelming amount of disintegrators to take my spike and destroy my other one. But I was using a new kind of strategy which had always been successful versus trap players, so Preds, APCs, foxholes everywhere, and minefields like when you need to if you're just in a panic, but they just cause the travel player to really just second guess themselves, because there's all these like random foxholes and things like that coming through. This game didn't go for that long. I mean, we see a pretty big engagement, but yeah, we got Preds, APCs, and hammerheads here. Milk most of his disintegrators, and once they're gone, the predators are just going to be fine, so he can't really build cultists with that many hammerheads around. It is a pretty hard counter to what Unleash is doing, the disintegrator gunwalker, but of course there's other ways Traveller can get around that, but what I'm doing is pretty expensive, but I did manage to survive that long. And yeah, basically once I won the middle engagement, which was just gunwalkers, I was able to push through, and his expansion had basically no defense, and I was able to take a pretty clean victory in game number 4, so that gave me a pretty significant lead, 3-1 at this point in time. So Unleash just fighting a little bit longer here, and he slowly surrenders at this point in time, fighting over the spikes as well, so game number 4 goes in my favour. So game number 5 took us to Tournament Rift, which I was expecting him to pick sooner or later. He did Shadow Open, but I killed both of his engineers because I sent like a bunch of rifles all in random directions, and one of them snuck through. That's my counter to the engineer rush, so basically send as many rifles in different directions so as to split his shadows up. I did then expand to the center with the advantage, but he did this Reckoner push. I'm like, what the heck is this? And it actually stalled the crap out of me for a long time, and started losing a bunch of tanks. I had to pull back. I had to stop harvesting, so I was like, if this gets him back into the game, I'm going to be pretty mad, which it was starting to get him back in the game. But he's got a few Scorpion tanks there, so I had to fight this one out, and basically slowly but surely I had to pull all my units back to the point where I was not harvesting, and this allowed Unleash to get ahead economically. Slowly, of course, I did clean this up with the micro, the tanks, and the double War Factory there as well. was able to slowly push through there. But yeah, I was already worried because he'd cleaned up all my scouts on the entire map, and he had the bottom spikes as well. And I'm like, wow, he really actually got kind of got back into that game there. But with his advantage, he does actually choose to tech with it, and he clicks me in a moment. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he's about to click me now. So that pretty much destroys almost my entire army, which I actually have here at the moment. And some of the tanks up the front do manage to survive, but I'm looking pretty bad because of the clicks. A lot of my harvesters are dead. I've only got a bunch of scorpions. Sorry, not scorpions, predators, which I decided to counterattack with straight away. He's got a Purify to try to hold this, but because he teched so fast, he literally didn't have any other army units, so these Predator tanks were actually allowed to move in and do a lot of damage to this main. He had to evacuate it. Now he does, as you can see, I'm desperately trying to recover in the center of the map with some more harvesters. Double War Factor obviously helped that out pretty well, and he did eventually hold this off with infantry, but when I expanded to the south, I went triple airfield, what do you call it, hammerhead, just as like an all-in, didn't spend any on eco, and you can see them, they're flying across the map now, but with Unleashed, because of what he had left, again, the Predator tanks did so much damage that the hammerheads literally just fly over the top, and you can see how many there are there. He couldn't believe how many hammerheads. You can see he's writing in the chat there. He could not believe how I pulled these hammerheads out of nowhere, considering the amount of damage he did to me. So game number 5 goes in my favour to give me a 4-1, a nice 4-1 lead. So game number 6 went to the other Rift map now, Twisted Rift, where I got Flame Rushed again by Unleashed UA as his Black Hand, but his Flame Rush didn't do too much damage. It was able to be countered with my extra scouts that I had. I was able to see everything that he had and shut it all down. He did try to get my MCV with a Reckoner, that didn't work, so he moved into Scorpion tanks. I expanded forward to prevent him from getting the blue tib while I took the blue tib. And I was able, with hammerheads, to be able to start to edge out an advantage. I still had some pitbulls left over as well for harassment. They're going to go harass his base as well. But this game wasn't very long at all. Unleashed barely gets an expansion down. He does unfortunately lose this game to put him 5-1 down in the series. But yeah, not too much happens. Couple more Scorp battles, but it's Predators and Hammerheads versus Scorpion tanks. He's forced to build buggies, which can do nothing against the Predator tanks. And then the counter harass is real in his expansion. So you can see that he's got almost no expansion. He spent so much money on army and scorpions, and they just got shredded. And I've got a pretty well developed economy. So yeah, Unleashed UA unable to capitalize or get ahead in that game there, and he quickly had to bow out of this particular game, put him 5-1 down. So we're down to the match point already in this series, 5-1 in my favor. So game number 7 then rolled around, and this one was a really long one. You can see by the open here, I sent just the ridiculous rivals to the center to guarantee me the spike, and that really screwed him up. So it was Traveler 59 versus GDI again in this matchup here, and pretty confident I could once again defeat his Traveler 59. There was, of course, some harassment here and there, but nothing too serious. We're going to see him. I think he gets a Harvester kill here, but it's not too bad. But I was going for Shatter Infantry, which I've already arranged. It's actually on its way out, and really bad positioning here with this gap in the map, and luckily Unleashed was unable to capitalize. He was also split up, so I was able to do a lot of damage before pushing forward and doing my main attack on his base. So Shadows and Infantry, he didn't have too much to counter that, but again, he did have some coldest, and he used the phase. I had to micro pretty crazily to stop shooting at phase units, and of course they just kind of crush everything I've got here. And he's got a few coldies to try to grab my Shatterers, which are a big problem if you go Shatterers as GDI. You need to make sure you can defend them. Prodigy is there as well. I think I should be able to clean one of them up. No, he does actually manage to survive that fight there. He tries to counterattack pretty quickly, and he just finds more composite armored infantry. Prodigy, of course, causing problems most of the game as well. I'm looking to expand again. I believe I've already expanded, yeah, have at this point in the game. But this is a really long one. I didn't actually get the replay saved. I do apologize. It's one of the 2 games that we couldn't save the replays. I do end up pushing through his main base and destroying that while I expand to my 3rd. The army on the bottom left-hand side that destroys his main base is then pretty much destroyed by his army. He does obviously take a decent amount of losses here. And you can see I've got no EMP grenades with this particular army, I believe, so that's a bit of a problem because obviously you can't EMP the Hexapod, which was causing me problems pretty much all game long. So that engagement went pretty good. I mean, it destroyed a lot of his forces, but we're going to see here, he does try to grab my MCV. I had to sell off those buildings, and I put the Commando through the wormhole. I had a Commando, and it sniped his Prodigy. And I believe there he is, and he's going to go through the wormhole now. And I'm like, hey, look, there's your drone ship. Kills the Prodigy, and then C4s but I couldn't jump jet because it was only just charging down. The Buzzer Swarm did kill me, which was a clutch move. That was so good. Almost got his drone ship as well. His Hexapod then gets a bit too antsy in its pantsy here, and he will be destroyed by this massive infantry ball. But because I've got no Marv, because I had to sell the Reclamator hub or capture it, I didn't have a Marv with the next attack, and that was a problem because with no Marv, he was able to actually hold this attack. There's another commander there. For some reason, he wouldn't C4 the drone platform. I couldn't figure out what was going on, so that was a bit of a problem. I did have EMP grenades. You can see that he's going for phase again to try to crush. Yeah, without a Marv, it was just so hard. I had to move all my infantry. Hammerheads getting destroyed, of course. Zone heads came out. Of course, I brought out the big guns here. You have to have micro for these guys here. Every Skrinsworth nightmare, and that caused him a lot of problems. Followed up quickly with tungsten shell slingshots because the known counter is obviously Stormrise and things like that. I do have a Marv out now, but all the infantry is dead, which was a problem. It was coming down to attrition. I did try to attack. There's your slings and your hammerheads. I believe I sniped down the Prodigy. No, I didn't actually get the Prodigy. Wow, that's a big problem. And I lost a ton of zone heads to shards as well. That was a really bad attack, and I definitely knew it. This was the point where he actually started to gain the advantage in the game, because up until that point it wasn't. It was on my terms, but he is attacking now with his Hexapod here, and again, this is a really long game, so I do apologise for not having saved it, but of course that's why I'm doing extended highlights here for this one. Of course it went for over half an hour. He did push forward through with EMP grenades and trying to get my Marv back out. Of course I did manage to stop this, but it forces out the phase. He tries to send the storms in, but of course that ends up pretty badly for him. His Hexapod, I believe, just gets teleports away. Yeah, it's gone, so that was a problem. And it really became a bit of a slugfest from this point in. Both sides trying to secure Tiberium and fight it out. I lost another Marv down the bottom trying to secure the bottom. I tried to secure his main several times, and each time I lost my outpost or I lost my base, got destroyed. He did start getting disc mechas, which was a real problem as well, because the zones can't do anything about those. They have to pretty much run. The disc mechas will kill them almost instantaneous, and they're faster. They're cleaning up some slingshots as well. He does try to clean up some extra parts of my base as well, so he pushed me down to basically one base at one point in time, and I did re-expand, and I did take all my expansions again later on in the game, but not too much else happens here. I try to shockwave him down, try to cause some problems. I have heroic zone troopers in there, but unfortunately there I get a bit too close, and the disc mechas are just ridiculous, and then he comes back, takes my MCV with a wormhole, and this is the problem. I still had a big army and zone heads, but he now has build radius in my base and my construction yard, and he was able to plant down storm columns and plasma missile batteries, and without my air, the Marv and my ground units, which are totally out of position, were pretty much dead. So I'm like, yep, cool, I'm pretty much dead now, so no power either, so it doesn't matter that I still have an army here. I'm pretty much finished as we know it, so I surrender, and Unleashed does make a slight comeback in Game 7. So game number 8 now, it was 5-2 in my favour, so Unleashed still on match point, of course. I did decide to bike rush him because he struck me out, so I had to play his black hand here, or it might have been not. I'm pretty sure I'm black hand, but I tried to bike rush him. Unfortunately, I got so close to getting a harvest, but I just could not finish it off, so that was a bit of a problem. Of course, then he double War Factory attacked me, and of course he's a lot better at that than I am. I tried to defend with infantry, believing I could defend this out, but he had a lot of gear here, and I tried to micro my harvesters as best as I could, but it just ended up being a really long, drawn-out fight. As you can see, he's just continuing to put the pain on me, trying to move my harvesters around, trying to get more infantry squads out, but I was taking a lot of damage. I was really feeling in this matchup. I probably shouldn't have picked this faction against his faction, because he's just going to be a little bit better at it than myself. And of course the bike buggy, you can see, is just pouring into this base area here now. I've got more infantry on an expansion, so I'd really spent a lot more on eco, and the problem was I just lost simply too many harvesters in this base. So you can see he's going to come in and finish a few off. Overlapping harvesters was bad, so I micro my harvesters as best as I could, but he did a fair bit of damage there. I did actually survive the initial attack, but as we're going to see in a few moments, he does come back once I get to my expansion, and he pretty much seals the deal there. So he's going to move the series to 5 games to 3, so a little bit worried. Obviously he still needs to win 3 games in a row after this one. You can see he's pretty much trouncing my expansion. I knew it was pretty much all over, and I was just trying to fight to clean this up. But I don't even think I got my infantry upgrades down first, so I'm selling like crazy and trying to transition. So I'm still trying to hold on. Obviously there's always a chance to come back, but at this point I think I've got 4 harvesters. I need another ref down, so I'm forced to sell a lot of gear here, so I'm going to wait for that last one to come out and then sell everything up. So but yeah, this army rocks up out of the fog, and I'm like, yeah, I've got like 5 or 6 rocket squads, so this is GG here. So he's going to take game number 8, and he's going to move the series to, like I said, 5 games to 3. We're going to jump into game number 9 now, so Unleashed making a pretty good stand in the later part of this series. So that led us on to game number 9, where he did strike out my GDI faction again. So I struck out his Nod faction. I was expecting to play Traveller or Squin, but he played his GDI, and I did a bike rush, but this time I waited till I built up 6 bikes and then headed outside. Managed to snare a Harvester because of that, and that gave me a pretty good start. Managed to catch him out of position a few times. This game was all about position. There's so many engagements. I highly recommend you check out this replay. It's one of those action-packed ones. Bites causing him problems, just slowing him down, just allowing me to get into the Scorpion tanks I need. He was very ballsy, and he did take the blue field, like expand there, and then he was going to plan to expand to his top field as well, but I did pretty much shut that down. And he ended up spamming a lot of pit bulls because he thought I was obviously going to do bike buggy, but the bikes at the start of the game were pretty much the only bikes, except for a few extra ones I built to just bolster that force, just replace some of the losses here. But again, the Scorpions had a pretty good time against these pit bulls and things like that with their dozer blades. And I was planning to get lasers later on. That Harvest accidentally wanders over there. I thought I'd secured the field by, I thought I would have secured the field by then, but as it turns out, Unleashed really didn't want to let it go, and I ended up having to fall back a little bit here. So I do come back for more, and this time here I've got even more Scorpion tanks trying to get the flame tanks out as well, and just pushing through. I've got much more units than what he has, so I move into Destroyer, and I will move into his expansion as well up here. So I was keeping him under the pump, keeping my recycling going, trying to transition as fast as possible from one tech to the next to keep him on his toes, because I had done damage, but it wasn't, you know, critical. Obviously I'm doing a lot more here at the moment. I was really surprised how much he was able to hold on in this game, and how well he actually did. He still had a lot of army units out. I was getting real worries, like he's just not going down. He still has an army and units, and he goes for hammerheads here. I do try to flank around. Again, a lot of positioning, a lot of fights, a lot of big fights and small skirmishes as well. So obviously I can't catch all the action for this highlights video, but you can see Scorpion tanks once again, they find their way into the backfield here. Hammerhead's causing the problems. There are buggies there as well. I did do the the Scorpion buggy, which is become a little bit more popular nowadays to counter that. I was going for stealth tanks as well, stealth tanks and expand to his main. So I did 2 groups of stealth tanks. The first ones hit the north field, and where they sniped down pretty much the remainder of his harvesters. The economic damage at this point in the game was just unbelievably bad for him, and one tank will go down. But the other groups, I went for more than one group of stealth tanks, do manage to hit the other side, and they even take out these hammerheads as well, so really shutting down his ability to refine. I think one just did get away there. Venoms though with lasers, I built a few of them to help clean up the hammerheads as well, but the stealth tanks did most of the work. Scorpions with their lasers still causing mass problems for him, and then it moves into some of the later engagements. Vertigo bombers were coming out as well as stealth tanks, and of course the Scorpions are still going, bolstering their numbers. Predator tanks are trying to fight valiantly, but they're not really targeting. You kind of move through here, and I quickly focused down the harvesters. I'm like, yep, cool, let's just kill harvesters, because we can just bomb the rest of them. Cool, and the Mind Strike as well. Vertigo bombers just endlessly bomb running everything that they can, just hitting Unleashed again and again. Every which way. You can see that they make constant runs here. There's a couple of them you can see, and the Scorp tanks again getting bolstered. He just had a really tough time. He almost got 2 heroic Predator tanks, but I did manage to end that. He did manage to squeeze a Marv out right at the end, but at the end, this is basically his whole base. It's the Conyard and those few buildings just to the north of it, and he wasn't too terribly happy. I kind of felt sorry for him because I pulled him in every direction, and of course I was taking his second expansion now, so Unleashed will fall 6 games to 3, or I will be victorious 6 games to 3. He'll fall 3 games to 6. And I'll take 3rd position in the Command Cup 2015. It was a great series. I recommend you check it out. I did forget to save 2 of the replays, but we have the rest of them. I'm not sure how I forgot to save them because I really did click on everything, but I must have clicked the wrong button when I was saving. But Unleashed does sell out here, and that gives me 3rd position in the Command Cup 2015. Hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm Green Zero, and I'll catch you all next time.